guys. Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. And if you're not, hit the button. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the real of reality TV. Listen, I want to talk about this because I am so over this narrative that people are trying to pin on Dr. Greg. Okay, first and foremost, not that I need to give a precursor to what I am saying, but of course, Dr. G is not perfect. And I don't believe that he is a 100% victim either. I believe that the N word should have not married Quad in the first place. When he called off the wedding the first time, I feel like he made a mistake by moving forward and doing it anyway. I felt like, okay, you called off the wedding. You did the janky thing by sending out a group mass text message to let people know that the wedding was called off because you were in your feelings. But maybe that's a time you should have stayed in your feelings and not married that chick because that was a bad decision. Okay. It wasn't a mistake because it was something that he made the decision to do. It was a bad choice, period. They were not right for each other. So he knew the type of chick that he was getting involved with, and she was a selfish person. I was about to say something else, who clearly was looking for a come up, okay? And she got that. She used Greg for a boost. He wanted to get some children out of the situation. She was not down for it. She never wanted to have kids with him. I'm not saying she never wanted to have any children, period, but she definitely never wanted to have children with him. And she played him like a fiddle and just continued to kick the can down the road. And he was dealing with it. He wasn't okay with it, but he was dealing with it. Trust me, because I saw the episode recently from season 2, I believe it was, yeah, season 2, where he said that he wanted to have kids, but she went and, without his knowledge, went to go and see Dr. Simone about getting on birth control because they weren't using birth control at the time, but she was doing everything to ensure that she would not get pregnant. And she wanted to ensure that she was not going to get pregnant because she didn't want to have any kids with the man, period. She never wanted to have kids with him. Okay. She never saw that marriage lasting for the long term. And she used him for everything that he could do for her. And when she finally got to the place where she could make him look like he was the 100% bad one in this relationship and she just couldn't take it anymore, it was all him and none of her, then she filed for divorce. Okay. And again, like I said, I'm not saying he was a 100% victim because he wasn't. He made a bad decision by marrying her and he got played and he's angry about it. Okay. I'm not going to say that he does not have the right to be angry. I'm just going to say you got what you paid for. And so, yeah, she took the Sleep Number mattress right on out of that house that she tries to play over and over again. But it was okay when you were staying in it the first time around. But now that you've leveled up in life and you've gotten a few favors and met a few people along the way, and yeah, you made a few coins, but I still don't believe that she's done enough in her own right to afford to live the type of life that she's living in that estate. Okay, when even the Dr. Simone and the Dr. Heavenly and even Dr. Jackie, I don't believe, I mean, from what they've shown us, because we haven't seen the full outness of, if that's a word, full outness, we haven't seen the full on homes of the upgrade that Dr. Jackie has done, or even Dr. Simone. I mean, to me, she seems to live out of all of the doctors on the show, female doctors, the most sensibly Dr. Simone. But I digress. Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Damon, both of them are in the medical field. And from what I heard, he's in that field where they make a lot of money ripping off insurance companies because of car accident cases or whatever, because he does pain management, quote unquote. So yeah, he's making money hand over fist in that field. But I digress. They're able to pool their money together and live very well. And allegedly, he's helping a few mistresses live exceptionally well, also, and possibly some children. That's what they're saying. I don't know that to be the case, but that's what they're saying. But anyway, I'm saying all of that to say the people that are trying to make Dr. Gregory out to be a monster, cut the bullshit. I just have to put it flat out like that. Cut the bullshit. Dr. Gregory might be annoying. He might have a squeaky pip squeak voice. He may have been driving that Mini Cooper that was squealing off, leaving the house whenever Dr. G and Quad were getting into it when they were still married. And I think that was the adult thing to do. Get up and leave versus sit there and continue to argue and fuss with somebody in the house. And even the Bible says it's better to be on the rooftop than to be in the house with a nagging spouse. I'll just say it like that. But anyway, I've been hearing some people spin this narrative around the argument that was had or disagreement that Lateasha and Dr. G had. People really want to make it seem like Dr. Gregory is a monster. And I just don't buy that. Miss me with this bull crap, all right? He and Quad have mugshots from both of them getting on each other, and I was not there, okay? But I have the right to my opinion. I'm being beautifully honest. Whether you like my opinion or not, this is my opinion. And based on what I've seen of Quad, what she has displayed of herself from season 1 through season 11, is she is the turn up type, okay? She loves to, like Dr. G said, she has a big effing mouth. She does. And she says however she feels. She doesn't care what the moment looks like or whatever. She is who she is, and she is how she is. So I could see it escalating and her and him, whether he was trying to what's the word? Trying to either hold her from hitting him or something like that. I don't see Dr. G beating Quad down and her sitting there holding her arms up saying, please don't do that. People need to stop the bull crap. And I'm not saying that abuse means that the man is a big person that's over the woman and she's not trying to defend herself. I'm not saying that a female can't try to defend herself when a man is being physically abusive. That's not what I'm saying. But we have to be honest. We have to be honest. And I just don't see that being the case when it comes to Quad and Dr. G. I don't. Another reason why I say that, guys, last season, when Quad came on her lonesome to the show and she went to Latisha's bachelorette party, when she came on the scene at the Med Gala and she comes up to Lateasha and Dr. G and she's smiling and asking if she could give him a hug, what woman in their right mind, and I'm saying this honestly, what woman in their right mind was getting beat down by their husband and they see their now ex-husband that was abusive towards them at an event and they're going to walk up to this person, see them with their new significant other, smiling and saying, "Oh my God, is it okay if I give him a hug?" If anything, you don't want to be in the same room with them, let alone you're not going over there to speak to them. So I don't buy the bullshit about Dr. G being a monster and he was beating Quad down and he was abusive to her and all this other stuff. Yeah, he might have said some things that were hurtful. I'm not saying she didn't get her feelings hurt or she didn't feel some type of way when he spoke a certain way to her. Like if you recall the scene when she and he were talking about that puppy couture line. I know because I just saw that episode recently. And he was getting fed up with her, whether it was warranted or not, he was getting fed up with her, and he was basically calling her superficial and saying, like, it's not so many words, basically saying this is some stupid bullshit. There's a lot of like real issues going on in the world, and you have the nerve to want to sit here and create a couture clothing line for puppies, and I'm trying to have a baby with my wife, and you don't want to have kids, and you're talking about these puppies are our babies and these are not my children. Okay, so he told her, I've been taking care of you since the day I met you. And she did this look and like was taken aback, like, oh my God, I am so offended. How could you say something like that to me? And it's like, girl, he's telling the truth. I believe him. And yeah, what he's saying actually makes sense. Now, did she ever proceed and move forward with the puppy couture line? You guys let me know in the comments, because I don't know if that ever came to be. I know that she did the little fashion show thing on the show, and then the next season she had the pop-up event, and that's the scene that season. That was season 3, and that was when she had the scene with the guy where she tried to act so surprised when he came up to her and saying that Dr. Lisa Nicole's husband was sleeping with him. You remember that? And she was trying to act like she was so shocked and surprised and didn't know this guy and didn't know he was going to say that or whatever. She's so full of shit. This is the type of stuff. And I'm going to go back over some stuff, because when I see people trying to defend Quad to the death, it's like, y'all really just are head over heels falling for this chick. And she is a sh she's a manipulative individual. I just don't see how people don't see that. I liked her in the first season. After the first season, I didn't care for her. I didn't hate her, and I don't hate her to this day, but I do not care for her because I've seen her for her works and her deeds, and I just don't buy the bull crap. So, with all of that being said, guys, even though Greg and Quad had a lot of issues, I don't believe that Greg is a monster. Okay. So I'm saying all of that to say, to build up to this scene where I saw it on Peacock, and I heard somebody else talking about this on another channel, and I was like, this is some bullcrap. This is not how it went down. The person was trying to describe how Dr. Greg was speaking to Lateasha, and the person was saying, putting words in his mouth, saying he said certain things that he did not say. Okay. And for the people who are trying to act so offended and, oh my God, I can't believe he spoke to her like that. Listen, this is reality TV. You better be happy you didn't hear more, because for any like real married people, and I'm just being honest, guys, like real life, in real life, okay? Real married people, we go through stuff, people say things that sometimes are not the best of, you know, it's not very flowery and pretty, if you will. So your husband or your wife may not say things in the proper way all of the time, because we're human beings, we're not perfect, and sometimes in a moment, especially when you're like dealing with something heavy duty, you're not really considering the other person's feelings. Now, is that okay? I'm not saying that it is okay. I'm just saying that that's what makes us human beings. And that's why no one's marriage is perfect, because we are imperfect people coming together in a union with another imperfect person. So, not everything is going to be said and done in a way that is perfect all of the time, or ideal, or like social media likes to put it, couple goals, which is bullshit anyway. I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who actually is married and who has been married for 20 some odd years, okay? Real life stuff, all right? So, the conversation that Greg and T were having, it was nothing groundbreaking about that conversation, all right? Yeah, they may have went behind closed doors just to try to not have it where they're on camera with their faces arguing back and forth with each other. I completely understand it because when those cameras are gone, they're not filming 24 hours every day for the periods of time that they're filming. These people still have to live together, love, together, love each other, go through life together. And like I tell people when I have conversations with them, because I don't give relationship advice, I could, but I'm not going to do that. I think a lot of people who do that type of stuff, especially when they're monetizing it, a lot of those people are full of crap. All right. I would just give someone advice just because I care about them and I know them and I'm just trying to help them out, but I'm not out here giving relationship advice. I'm just not the one to do it. I could, like I said, but I wouldn't do it. But I'm saying all of that to say that a lot of people just really need to understand that we're not perfect. And sometimes things are said or sometimes things are done that it can hurt someone's feelings, or you can, say something to someone in a way, your significant other, your husband or your wife, where it was like, oh my god, like that actually stung, that hurt, and then you apologize later and you move on. That's life. Dr. Greg is a man, okay? He dealt with a situation where Quad's so-called man charged at him, and that was the problem because Quad boosted him up to do what he did, okay? And the nigga was running, charging at Dr. Greg on the beach because of some words, because he said what he said to Quad and said what he said about Quad to King, which he didn't lie. Like there were no lies detected. He said, yeah, because I know how your girl is. He does. He didn't say anything like crude, like, yeah, I know how that P works. Or I know how that P moves, or I know how it felt, or whatever. Like he didn't say anything crude like that. He was basically talking about Quad's behavior and her ways. And he didn't lie. And so for what Dr. G said, people feel that King had the right to go and charge at him physically to beat him down. Like, really? Is this what we're doing now? People actually think that that's okay. And Dr. Gregory is a doctor. So he's going to be out here like going going at it with his fists and feet on the beach with this man because of some words that were exchanged from him about Quad or to Quad or however it happened. It doesn't even matter, but in actuality, what Dr. G said was not a lie. You may not like it, you may get offended by it, but he didn't call her a bitch. He didn't say she was a whore, a slut. Like, he basically said, you have a big effing mouth. And she does. Like, oh my God, you kidding me? She does. He did not lie. And this is the type of stuff. This nigga was so stupid. And I'm sorry, guys, I have to keep saying it this way because this is how I feel. So I'm saying it how I feel. And I felt like King was acting like a nigga. If the word you're acting like it makes sense to use, I'm going to use it. And yeah, King was acting like a nigga, okay? Because he didn't like something that he said. He felt like that warranted him going to go and punch him or beat him down. That's nigga stuff. That's like street stuff. Dr. Gregory is not going to be out here going to blows with this man because of some words. And then this dude really thought that what he said made sense. And what Dr. G said in response to him was actually true. He said, you really think that that makes sense? She could say whatever she wants to say to me, but I cannot respond to her. I have to go and find you and report to you what she said so that you could what? Check her or speak to her and say, "No, no, no, Quad, now, girl, calm down. Let's not go there." Like, seriously, that made absolutely zero sense. Absolutely, it is not okay for a man to be putting their hands on a woman, but it's also not okay for a woman to put their hands on a man. But see, this is the type of stuff that some people want to try to take it to, and it causes people to get in situations that are not good for the man. A woman puts their hands on a man, and I'm not saying that this is what happened, but this is the type of stuff that sometimes will happen in life. A woman puts their hands on a man, but then people say, well, he can't hit her back. I absolutely understand people's logic behind that, but we also have to remember that we are imperfect beings. We're imperfect people. And there are things that are called reflexes, okay? And those reflexes work whether the thing that caused the reflex was a man, a woman, a child, an animal. Like, seriously. Now, yeah, it takes maturity to try to hold back. And there are times when, yeah, that maturity level kicks in, but there could be a point in time where a person could say, you know what? The reflex just happened because this woman kept hitting me and I just swung to get them off of me. And that is actually my opinion. I was not there. I don't know how it happened. But my opinion is I could see that being the situation when it came to Quad and Dr. G when they both got arrested years ago before they got married. I could see that being a situation where she was swinging and he swung back, getting, like not beating her down, but just like flank. But either way, my point is stuff like that can occur. So King actually thought that it made sense to tell Dr. G, no, 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 you don't speak to her. You come to me. You speak to me. Nigga, get up out of here with that BS because that's some stupid, ridiculous garbage and sounds like something that she would tell him to say. When you need to tell him this, you need to say this to him. And he's being the obedient lapdog and he's doing it. She and King are the problem. So I watched this recent episode and to see them just not all of them just not be 100% straightforward and honest. Now I like closer to the end where the new couple, Dr. Mimi and her husband, when Dr. Mimi like pretty much was saying yeah, they're not in a space because the question was asked, could exes like be in a group together? And she was saying, if the two exes have not done the work that they need to do for healing individually, then no, they should not be in the same, they shouldn't be in the group together. And I 100% agree with that. But see, that's the type of stuff that they're not ready for because this group didn't consider that when they went and courted Lateasha and Dr. G to be on the show to spite Quad. And Quad knows that. And Quad knows these chicks are not her friends, but she's doing what she's doing because she needs the check. Miss me with the, oh, she doesn't need that. That's just an extra check for her. Child, please. She got that home that she's in banking off of those checks from Married to Medicine. And this is why sometimes I get really frustrated with these reality shows because I feel like a lot of times they need to expire people before it gets to the point where people are like, yeah, it's time for this person to get off this show. They need to be in a place where it's not exactly like, but something like, remember years ago, The Real World, and they had a new cast every season? Why aren't they doing that type of stuff with these shows? Because you get these type of people like the Quads where their heads are and egos are so overinflated where they really believe that they are something that they're not. But, years ago, you had people like Tammy Roman, who was on the second season of The Real World, second season ever of The Real World. And she was able to grow from that. She wasn't on Real World every season. So, now you got these shows like The Real Housewives and Married to Medicine. And, that's just the way it is now. But really, maybe they need to start reconsidering doing these shows like that because you get people like Heavenly and Quad, and just naming a few, where they get so overinflated and so egotistical that they have the nerve to say that the show can't exist without them. They need to start proving these people wrong. Like, we don't need you. It was fun while it lasted. Arrivederci. Like, I really feel like that's how they need to start doing a lot of these people on these shows, because I'm sick and tired of people giving excuses to people like Quad. Quad, she was the one that put the things in King's ear to get him to do what he did the next day. Because if it were that bad, because he was sitting right next to Quad. So if Quad heard him say, "You have a big effing mouth," why didn't King hear it? He was sitting right next to Quad, right? This is why, because Quad boosted King up overnight, so the next day he could go and have a conversation and confront Dr. G. And he wanted to prove his bravado and prove his affection for Quad, and I'll do everything and anything for my baby, even beat this fool down on the beach if it comes to that. And I don't even buy that he was really even going to do anything. And I'll tell you why, because I watched that scene a couple of times because it happened so quick. He acted like he was being held back. He wasn't really being held back that much, because I can't remember exactly who it was because I'm not looking at the scene in front of me at the moment, but whoever it was, he was barely holding King back. If King really had smoke for Dr. G, he could have went right around that fool and clocked him. He did not want to do that. He did it because Quad boosted him up to do it, and he was trying to prove his worth. He is on there to promote his business. Why is Quad staying in her? I don't care if Quad had her own home, right? Even if this home is 18,000 square feet and it costs her $5 million. And I'm not saying the house is that big and it costs that much. I don't know, but I'm just giving an example. Why is he staying up in her house? Every time we see them on the show at her house, he's there. Why isn't she up in his house if he's got it like that, right? So I'm just saying, Quad and King are the problem. And Lateasha, she emasculated Greg because he was already feeling some type of way, right? And then for her to say, because he was speaking about, it was going to be a bloodbath or whatever, like using terminology, using words. And then she responds to saying, no, it wouldn't have been. She could have just agreed with the man. Like, that's the type. And this is why I'm talking about in terms of relationship stuff. She's new in this marriage. And she's also speaking from the perspective of being a military, veteran, and having her training and, combat training and all this other stuff. Girl, like, you have to rest in your femininity when it comes to your husband. You cannot make him feel emasculated. Like, you just snatched the dude's nuts off. You pretty much castrated him on national television by pretty much making it like, you wasn't gonna be able to bust a grape, but okay, baby. And then, like, making it seem like you were going to have to defend him physically. That stuff never works. It's just not something that you can do because it tears at the man's ego. And just to give an example, and I don't know if you've ever, watched sitcoms over the years, and most of the sitcoms, back in the day, they all had the same writers. So a lot of these different sitcoms, they all had like the same schemes and plot lines. And so one of the plot lines that a lot of these comedy sitcoms used to have back in the day was where a female was dating a male. And, like, to give one example, there's actually two examples I can think of. There was an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel Air when Nia Long was on there. She was Will Smith's girlfriend at the time on the show, and Nia Long beat up somebody, and it emasculated Will Smith, and then he was feeling some type of way because she was able to defend herself physically and he wasn't able to do it. And another another sitcom back in the day was a Steve Harvey show when I forgot what the actress's name was, but she played the principal, and she and Steve Harvey were dating, and they went out to a ball game or something like that. And there was a mascot dressed like a chicken, and the mascot kept trying to hit on her or whatever, and she beat up the mascot. It was a man in a chicken suit or whatever, but she beat the mascot up, and it emasculated Steve Harvey, and it made him feel like, well, what good am I at? What good am I? Because, she beat up this man in front of this big crowd, and I was just sitting there looking like, helpless. And so I'm just basically using those as examples, even though those were television shows and sitcoms, but it makes a great point. It is true. You have to allow a man to feel like a man, even if you don't really agree with it. She didn't have to say all of that on national television because it made him look weak. So, he was like, "You're naive." He did not call her a bitch. He didn't say, "You're stupid." Naive and stupid are two different things, okay? It's not the same thing. So please don't even go there with that. But yeah, he did call her naive, and he was actually, I agree with him with that. She was being naive. Naivete is like you're you're just not really getting it, you're not grasping it. Maybe you're young or you're inexperienced or whatever, but it doesn't mean that you're stupid. So I heard some people saying he was so disrespectful, and he was calling her stupid and saying, I'm done with your A, whatever. And he wasn't saying it in a way like, I'm done with this relationship. He was just pretty much trying to shut down the conversation, and she kept like building it back up when he was just trying to like dead it. And that's those types of times when you just have to let him cool down, let him go to the other room, and just let him cool down, and you focus on yourself, and it'll be better later. So all of this bullshit that people were talking about, he completely disrespected her, and this is what Quad was talking about, and Quad, it's like, girl, please. And so I just over people trying to make, and even Quad did it. Because I didn't read the social media post, but I did see where there was a post where she was pretty much talking about that scene to try to like vindicate herself, to say, see, this is what I was talking about. Girl, please. All right. You did not get out of that marriage because that man said what he said to you in season 2. I've been taking care of you, A. And I don't think he said those words, but he said, I've been taking care of you since the day I met you. And he didn't lie. She didn't say, you're not telling the truth. That's a lie. We're in this marriage together. I've been working all of these years, and I bring a lot to the table. She didn't say any of those things because he was telling the truth. Okay. And he knew where things were going. And so I really feel like he has a whole lot of resentment. Does he still love Quad? I am not going to say that he does not have any love for her. I do believe that there is some love there. Is he in love with her? Absolutely not. But is he disappointed, and is he angry about a lot of the stuff that he went through and the way he was made to look when he gave her the opportunity to become this reality star? I'm quite sure he feels resentment about that and feels like, what the hell did I do? She doesn't deserve this. And because of me, she used me as an opportunity. And because of me, I'm actually being treated poorly when I'm the one that gave her the opportunity to be where she is. And anyone that is honest would feel the same way. Seriously. But a lot of people are not going to be honest about that. So, because they just want him to be a flat out monster and her to be a 100% victim. And I'm sorry, I don't agree with any of those. I don't believe he's a 100% victim, but I do believe that he has a lot of resentment for a lot of the stuff that he went through because of her. And he was in a loveless, sexless marriage to someone that was in it for convenience. Period. But for those cast members to not be 100% honest and just look at what it was, and to see that this nigga charged at Dr. G on the beach because of some words that were said. And the words that were said were not even fighting words. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm tired of people trying to make Dr. G out to be this monster and Quad to be this helpless maiden that was saved from this terrible person. And now you all are seeing his true colors, and this is who child by. If any colors I'm seeing is her, if any. So I don't blame Dr. G and Lateasha if they do not come back to the show. I really feel like this is not the place for them, especially having a new marriage, a new relationship. I didn't think it was a good idea in the first place, especially because of that before I found out anything about her and her being on this show. I just really did not feel that it was a good idea, but it was a choice that they made, and we all have to take responsibility for the choices that we make. So, with all of that being said, there's a whole lot more that I could say, but I really don't want to make this extremely long. I really want to know what you guys think about this. But again, like I said, Quad and King were the problem. They are the problem. And so I hate to see situations, but this is the type of stuff that happens honestly in real life. So it's not even surprising to me where the people who really were not in the wrong for the most part are usually the ones that bow out. And I'm a testament of that because that's pretty much been my life story for a lot of my adult years. People do me wrong, and I'm the one that's bowing out and giving them grace. And I'm being treated like trash when I'm actually the victim. I choose not to take you to court because I just want peace and I just want to move forward. But it's usually like that in life. The bigger people, sometimes you get tired of being the get tired of being the bigger person, but that's usually just the way it is. The adults have to be the adults, and you just got to let the children child. You got to let them child. And so the children, they usually get away with a lot of stuff, while the adults, you have no choice but to be adults and to be adulting and parenting and being responsible and all of those things. It's like, yeah, I would love to go and run on the playground and, play around or whatever, but I have to be an adult. I have to let the children do what children do. And that's, they get to play. I don't get to play. So to see Lateasha and Greg leave for the sake of peace, it's usually just the way it works. I didn't think that it was fair, but you know, that's just the way it usually is. So I want to know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.